All right, welcome everybody. Happy hour at the BYC. It was the Balboa Yacht Club. We're going to start calling it Happy Hour at the BYC, updating and
Yes,
evolving
sir.
right as we grow. So, Ricky, welcome. Happy hour to you and felicidades. Happy Friday.
Happy hour. Salute. Good to see you, Willie.
Yep, as usual, absolutely. Our regular Friday night shindig, saying hello to the Canal Zone, reminiscing, going back to our youth, back to growing up and the place we love so much, right? We always have some really cool stories about that place, and
Yes.
so here we are again, and welcome everybody on Facebook and YouTube. Remember to get yourselves logged in and throw some comments. Join us in the conversation. Say hello. We got a lot of really cool guests tonight, so we want you guys interacting, engaging. Throw some questions out there, some ideas, some information, some greetings. Say hello to a couple people there. But anyhow, again, as usual, the Canal Zone. What this is all about is reliving that memory, keeping that story alive, the story of the Canal Zone. And so, one of the big components of keeping that story alive is the Panama Canal Society. I always do this. I'm not employed by the society, by the way, guys. I plug them because it's something that's important. They really are the one that have kept the canals on together and kept it going. So make sure you stay involved with those guys. We have the reunion coming up in July. Make sure that you get your membership there. That Governors Club membership is a great deal, man. For $250, it's 5 years. You get
5 years, right? 5 years.
yeah, man. It's a steal for what you get. And again, it keeps this going. These people work their butts off to keep the canals on going. It's something we always assume it's just the reunion, but there's a lot of behind the scenes all year long. There's a lot of meetings going on. There's a lot of things they're doing to provide information to retirees and a lot of other things. So just stay involved, right? At the reunions, volunteer. We see the same people volunteering all the time, which is great. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. But some of us should get in there and do something, including myself, and get in there, volunteer, so that give these guys a chance to hang out and drink a beer instead of
And enjoy the event.
yeah, because they put on a fantastic event, you know. So stay involved, guys. Get your memberships renewed. Make sure that you keep the society going because the society is keeping the Canal Zone going. But now, talking about the reunion itself, Ricky, what do we got going on with the reunion
Well, we
this
got a
year?
little bochinche that I found out. Listen, I think one of the good things that I want to mention is, I don't know, we're getting older, and I know a lot of us can get up early, but they have yoga at the reunion on Friday and Saturday mornings now, 8 a.m. It's a little early, but still get a good yoga workout before the activities. And Maggie Baker from Balboa High School 70 throws that. Again, that's Fridays and Saturday mornings. Also, something else that I found out, we can eat empanadas and yuca at the reunion. I'm sure that's always been there, but at noon to 1 o'clock, Saturday mornings,
Right
you can
on.
listen to Lucho, eat
Uh-huh.
empanadas, eat yuca, drink some Panama beer, and just hang out. I mean, that is just awesome. That is Saturday noon to 1. Then, of course, we have our Thursday night dance. This year is going to be hosted by the 1980 class,
Okay.
and they're going to be bringing in a band called Aquinas. Now, these guys, they've been. I've heard that they've been at several reunions, but they
Okay.
seem to be the go-to band, guys. The tickets are for sale at the door. Make sure everybody pays to get in. I know as Sonians, we like to hang out outside, listen to
Uh,
the music, and never pay to get in. This year, let's at least pay to get the band paid. But
right.
listen, shout out to 1980. Babo High School, they're hosting that Thursday night dance. Friday night, there's another dance, and they call that one the Electric Experience. And I would imagine that's a band and I would say DJ of some kind. And that is being hosted by Babo High School 79
Okay.
and Cristobal High School 74.
Oh,
So
right
that's
on.
again Friday night. Again, let's get inside, let's show some support. You
Yeah.
know,
Speaking of Atlantic side, real quick, if somebody from the Atlantic side wants to help us out and start periodically joining our show, because we don't give any love at all really to the Atlantic side, and
yes, we do. We always do. We had AXA.
Yeah, but I mean, he did give him a little bit of love, but I mean,
We
we
gave him a
talk
little
about
love.
Balboa, we talk about this, right? We have certainly pushed the Rams a lot, and whatnot. But you know, that's another half of the isthmus, right, of the canal zone that we want to
Correct, correct, and
start
they
bringing
are
in.
a big part of this
Yeah,
community.
yeah. So, but
Now,
anyway,
one thing
back
I
to you.
want to, yeah, one thing I want to do, Willie, is another. Aside from the Canal Reunion, we also have the Canal Record. What a great magazine that is!
Hmm.
That's the OG Facebook, where we all sent our pictures and our story into one spot, and then we all went there.
Yeah,
That's still going on. The it's like a better material of what they
great
make.
quality.
Yeah, it's good
Absolutely.
quality. So I want to do some little shout outs because the reporters have to do hard work. They got to look for people, talk to them, get pictures. But I want to shout out to Lynn Harp. She's the Arkansas reporter. She had some great pictures and some great stories. You guys might want to go in there and check that out, see what those guys are up to. And then mostly the Los Rios kids. Lynn Harp had some great pictures and stories
Cool.
about that. And then, of course, Bliss Morris in the Tampa area.
Yep.
Again, a great reporter, puts out great pictures, great stories. So if you guys have a chance, get in there and give them some little support.
By the way,
And
Bliss has that bed and breakfast here, on the beach. That's got
yes,
some
it
really
does.
cool Canal Zone themed rooms there. Check it out when you get a chance,
Everybody,
man. Because
yes,
it's
yes, when you
yeah,
can.
it's great,
So,
man.
reach out and find out who your reporter is and, let them know what you're up to. Give them some stories. We'll gladly share them here as well. I kind of normally just go through it and I will be reporting on whatever I catch out of the Canal Record, but some good stuff in there, guys.
Yeah, no, and funny you mentioned the
So,
Canal
Willie,
record. Um, there's I was talking to Laura Cossack the other day. So rumor has it that there may be a segment that we might bring on here, like a monthly segment, where they'll be talking about the society and ask, answering questions and whatnot. Um, and so we're thinking if we do that, maybe the name of that would be the Canal Record, to kind of support this publication and let people know that it's still out there, and it really is
it's
still
actually
very informative.
reunion. It is part of the reunion. It's not separate. It is part of the reunion.
Correct, correct. And part of you get when you join the society, part of your membership
Right,
is
that is
getting the record, and you get it in the
yeah,
mail.
yeah.
So
And I
it's
love that. I love that.
yeah,
And they also publish everybody's address that's a member.
yeah,
So
exactly.
that gives us, access to people.
Sure,
Right
no, it
on,
does.
Willie. So how was your week?
It was good. It was long. It was busy. Outside of work,
Out
we're
of work?
obviously growing and developing this channel. I've been working on a couple of different things. If you guys may have seen a couple of teaser promo videos on the Canal Zone Challenge, we're gonna have a little bit of fun. I want to do something, and this is again where I want to get the Atlantic side more involved, right? I want to do something Atlantic versus Pacific side because that was always kind of a fun rivalry, anyways. You Atlantic
Always,
siders.
always, always. From the
Certainly in
from the
football,
summer
it was
gins.
yeah, in football, that was the big deal is that trip to the Atlantic side and all that stuff. Uh, so I want to do something and take. I want to use the different graduating classes and use, like, for example, this year it's 2024, so the year that ended in '04. Um, so the class of '64, class of '74, class of '84, and class of '94. I want to get these people on. We're going to set up, it's March Madness, so let's think brackets, right? And have brackets Atlantic side, Pacific side, and we're going to have. I'm going to give you a little teaser of what we're kind of looking at here. But again, just have a little bit of fun here, some Canal Zone fun. But the idea here is to let me switch these guys. There we go. And so the idea is to have contestants on here, and this is again the magic of television, if we want to call it that, where now we can put somebody behind the stage. So here I'm on my podium, and we're going to have a little competition, a friendly competition, some trivia, some other fun, silly things, but all based around the Canal Zone, right?
Like a picture game, right? A picture
Yeah,
game where we draw a picture,
absolutely,
people try to figure it out, and then
absolutely.
maybe do some, canal trivia picture, and then let's like a wheel of fortune, maybe throw
Sure,
something like that
absolutely.
in.
I've been throwing a lot of questions out, recently on the society groups and the other groups there. So we are gathering some data on some things. I do also have Family Feud style template that we can work on and maybe get
Right
a,
on.
a group, maybe Los Rios against Diablo or Balboa against Ancon, right? And get three or
You know,
four people from each team and have a little fun there. But anyway, uh, we'll be reposting that. There is a form attached if you want to be involved, if you want to represent your class and compete. I'm hoping to get some people, Balboa Trading Company, Al Sprague Art, Panama Art, all these guys. Maybe throw some stuff in there and it will help promote you guys, of course, but we can have a nice prize package with some Canals and memorabilia and stuff that I think will be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that. Keep an eye out for that. But in the meantime, then again, talking about the reunion, a lot of good stuff there. We do have another reunion within the reunion coming up, which is the Balboa Rams reunion. So again, we want to talk about that, and we have some. Hold on. Oops, sorry. Um, Again, just have a lot of fun with that. We got some guests, some special guests that are going to be joining us here. They're going to talk about the Balboa Rams reunion and a couple other things that we have in the works with the Rams. So stay tuned for that here, guys.
First and 10 Rams moving from their own 42. Both backs coming out of the backfield again. Rinsel. Big stop for the Rams. Touchdown, Rams. And we do have it.
All right, so here we are, guys. Gentlemen, welcome. Let me get you guys on the screen the way you're supposed to be. Something's set up. There we go. All right, here we go. So we have with us Ray Maston, Larry Cicero, Scott Bass. So these guys are Balboa Rams. Some of the junior OGs. They're not quite the OG team, but they're pretty darn close to it, right? You guys were Rams, what,
Yeah.
71, 72, 73 in that era?
Yes.
That is, yes.
Right
We
on,
will.
right on. Awesome, awesome. Well, listen, thank you for joining us. Love to have you guys on here. I know I talked to Ray last year. We were working on a Ram show back then. The technology wasn't quite there like we have now, so we definitely are going to kick that off again. But glad to have him on again. And again, we're talking about the Panama Canal Society reunion in July in Orlando. We always love having that there, but this year there's an extra special component because there's a Balboa Rams reunion that these gentlemen here have been working on and putting together. So they're going to talk about that here, see what's going on there, and all of our Rams family. Make sure you guys get involved as well, and ask questions, say hello. We're trying to look for some players that are out there. So we've got some pictures and some rosters that we're going to be pulling up here, and so we're going to need your help out there in the audience as well to identify some of these culprits here. But first and foremost there, Larry Cicero, Scott Basso, Ray Masson, welcome to Happy Hour at the Balboa Yacht Club.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you guys here. And again, we're going to talk some Ram stuff because we love talking Ram stuff, but like typical Zonians, we'll get running our Ram stories. And next thing you know, I got a show to run here. So let's talk about the meat and potatoes, which is this Panama Canal Balboa Rams reunion. And then after that, we'll go ahead and do some Rams talk. So Larry, tell us about the Rams reunion. What do we got going on there?
Well, I'll tell you, the whole idea started. Ray called me about 6 months ago, and he said, what do you think about having a Balboa Rams reunion here in Vegas? I'm like, that sounds like a great idea, Ray. And then we chatted a little bit. He said, you know what? Maybe we should do it in the Orlando at the Canal Zone reunion, where there's a lot of Zonians already there. So we thought that was a great idea. We called Kelly Morris because we needed contacts. We had to run everything by her. And she thought it was a great idea. And then she put us in touch with Carl Orvis. And I think Orvis brought you in, Will. So I think here we are today putting together this reunion. I think it's going to be a great time. And we're getting a lot of people interested in it. So Scott Basso, Ray, I mean, we haven't seen each other in 50 years. And here we are, in the same studio. So it's going to be a great time. So I did want to mention a couple of things. So the Balboa Ram reunion is going to be on the Friday night on July 5th. It starts at 4:30. It's going to be in the Shingle. It's in the same resort that they're going to have the Canal reunion. It's the one night. So
wait, what night is that? You said Friday night?
Friday night.
Friday night.
Friday afternoon, evening.
Friday
Late afternoon.
Yep. And I think it's right next door to the 1979 class reunion. So
Okay,
Right on.
good.
That should really be.
Yeah. We're all
Yes,
AARP.
I'll
So
definitely be hanging out with
after
those
4
guys.
p.m. is night
You
for
can
us.
do
So
both.
that's why.
Yeah. So I did want to mention a couple of things. So what am I going to say? So what we want to do is we'd like to get more people involved. So it's for players, past players, cheerleaders, any coaches and coaching staff from the Balboa Rams. If other people from other teams would like to come, we'd love to have them. What we're hoping to do, and I'd like to put this out there, is if anybody has contacts and knows anybody that was a past player, please reach out to myself or Ray. We'll put our contact information on here, and I'll call them personally and see if people are interested in going, because I think this is going to be a great event, a chance to see people that you haven't seen in many years and reminisce the old football days. So I think it'll be a great thing. We're also going to honor Jerry Dare, who was the original organizer.
He's the guy on the right.
That's him on the right. He organized this thing, and as well as other coaches through the years. It's definitely a group effort. So we're gonna recognize a few people there. We're also gonna have music there. There's gonna be a bar there if you want to buy drinks, and there'll probably be a small fee to get in to help with some of the things that we're going to add to the piece. So anyway, if anybody knows anybody who might be interested in going, please send some information to us, and we'll be happy to contact them. So.
Yeah, and we'll put your contact info up here in just a second. And when you get a chance, if you can, throw it in the private chat or even in the regular chat here, and we'll make sure it gets up on the screen so everybody can know where to reach out. But yeah, this is really exciting. So, the reunion itself, right? Rams reunion. We're going to honor these coaches. We're going to, I understand there's going to be a package available for whoever signs up, or there's a shirt or something. Rumor has it there's some things in the works there.
We're still working on that. Not sure how we're going to do that. We're having a T-shirt made up with the Balboa Rams helmet. It's awesome looking. We haven't finalized it yet, so it's going to be a nice shirt. There'll be access. I don't know.
Definitely a collectible, huh?
Yes. So I'm sure we'll have them there, and people will be able to order them if they want them. So that'll be another.
Yeah, no, that'll be a lot of fun.
Do you want people to sign up for the event, or just come as you want?
Well, we'd like to get. No, it'd be great if you sign up and register. We'll have all that by the next magazine that comes out in June. All the details will be there. We'd like people to sign up so we know how many people we're going to have, so that we make sure we got a huge room right now. But if we need a bigger room, we'll be able to handle that, and it's just going to be a great time. So we're looking forward to people signing up and being enthused. I think it'll be a great time.
Mary Claire Pascavage is
right.
One thing remember the water
forget.
Girls, right?
Yeah,
we remember
absolutely.
The water girls, man.
Right on.
They were there, and they were always the cutest ones too, right?
That's right.
They're too cute to be cheerleaders.
Yeah. No, it was. That was definitely a lot of fun, and it was. Heck, it was needed, man. Some of those times are, third, fourth quarter, man. You're playing in the tropics, man. And a lot of us, had the good fortune or whatever that we played both ways, So you didn't often get a rest,
in Panama weren't so hot as the daytime. If you guys remember the evenings, they weren't that hot.
They weren't hot. You got that breeze off the water at night.
Yeah. For sure. It was nicer to play on heavyweights because of that. Lightweights, you still played some warm weather, man. But
lightweights played those 10 o'clock games or noon games.
The heavyweight games run to the lights. So you knew it was at least, the sun wasn't out anymore, And if you're running, you're not getting eaten by mosquitoes. So it was a good thing. But so now you guys were all three of you guys played on what year for the Rams? What year did you guys play together?
I played from 1970 to 1972, so I played 3 years.
Okay.
Hey, it was a privilege to share the same smelly huddle with Ray and Barry and the Watney and Vasquez and Parentheses. Oh, it was great, man. Getting that huddle. Woo! Call the play, get out there, run it quick. But it was one of my fondest memories growing up. So I really like to encourage anybody who's watching this to come out July 5th and 6th or even before that so we can do some more catching up.
So anybody out there right now that played for the Rams, cheered for the Rams, water girl for the Rams, coach for the Rams, say hello in the chat. Let's see who you are and what year you were with the Rams here. Let's start getting a chain going here and talking some Ram stuff. But anyhow, again,
or if you didn't play for the Rams, when you played against the Rams.
Yeah.
Let us know what team you were
Tell us
in.
about how bad you suffered because you couldn't play for the Rams and you got beat by the Rams all the time. No, those are great memories, you know. And it's funny you talk about, you know, that smelly huddle, Scott. And I remember when you first went there in the summer and you got your equipment. And that's been sitting. It's not like it was an air-conditioned locker room. That's just been sitting in that sweltering locker room all summer. And
That's
God
right.
Almighty, you'd put those shoulder pads on, and they were nasty, man. That was just that's
Hey,
your.
it was all part of the experience, Willie.
It sure was.
It was because getting your equipment was one of the biggest days of your life as a kid. When you first got those pads and that helmet, your very first set. Nothing like it. I think you guys brought a picture of the and in the background you can see where the equipment room was. It's where the guys are all standing around.
Right. Well, the one with Jerry Dare and the other coach, that behind you to the right there was the locker room.
Yeah,
that was the big entrance where the big gates
about
swung
the
open.
names. And look, Jerry's shirt. Isn't that the OP? No, the Hang Ten shirt.
Yeah.
That was a cool design.
That's a keen
And
eye
by the
there,
way,
man.
That gentleman with Jerry Dare is Joe Oliver. I think his name was Joe. Yeah, Joe Oliver. He was the first coach for the team from Coral Gables that came down to play us from Florida.
Oh,
he was the coach for them. And he was not. So I will tell you this: he was a knowledgeable coach too. I think Jerry Dare learned some things from him. I remember him talking about it.
Very cool.
Wow.
Very cool. I remember talking to Dick Gayer last year, and he mentioned that he went to a football conference up here in the States somewhere. I forget where it was, but he had the privilege of chatting with Bear Bryant.
Oh, wow.
And,
yeah.
And he was laughing about it because he asked him, you know, hey, any chance that, you know, we're going to be running the wishbone and any chance I can get your playbook? And he was laughing because, you know, the way he told it to me, he's like, you know, I would do it, but it's our playbook, man. You know, I mean, no, but it was, you know, great story. What you're doing in the Canal Zone. There's Americans down there, all that fantastic. But no, I can't.
You don't know if you don't ask.
Exactly right. What the heck? Go for broke, man. So maybe some of our success there, we can say that a little bit came from Bear Bryant. Maybe something that some words of wisdom he may have passed on to him that we did, because that, to me, heck, maybe I would be a failure as a coach today because I still want to run that wishbone. You know, I think that's fantastic. You know,
that wishbone was big. That's when college came out with it. Everybody was running it. So we started running it for a few years.
You know, I mean, just, you know, for you guys playing quarterback, you know, all the reads that you had to do in split second, you know, I mean, you know, does he come in, you give the ball, you don't? And some of the times I was trying to figure out, what do you mean if he comes in, you give the ball? Well, that doesn't make any sense. And I was like, man. I get the ball this way and run. I don't, you know, if you give it to me, great. If you don't, you don't. That's not my call.
So I'll tell you what, it was difficult to do, but once you mastered it, the quick read, it ran like nice.
It's a thing of beauty.
It ran, that's why we had such big gains.
So let me ask you. Go ahead, Ricky. Go ahead. Sorry.
First, you read the tackle. If he went inside, then you hand it off. If he went straight, then you went to the next read.
Well, no, it was to me. I thought it was if he came across the line or if he stayed home.
No. Then came the defensive end. So if he came at you, you would pitch. If he went out to get the running back, and then you would break in.
He had to make a choice whether he was going after the back or the quarterback.
Right. So that's what his second read.
Movement he made, that was what you were reading, and you let the ball go either way.
I remember, like, when Coach Cotton and Coach O'Connor, who ran the offense, for the fullback, that's what he would say. If the tackle, because our tackler or our guard would not touch him, he would leave him and go after the linebacker. And so if the defensive tackle came across the line and penetrated, you hand it to the fullback coming in. If he stayed home, then you
left or
pull
to
him
the
back
right,
and keep going down the line.
You had to read where he pinched. If he pinched towards the center, then you would hand it off. If he pinched the other way, then you would not hand it off.
Well, no, because
was
on
your
defense,
first
I
read.
remember that they would tell us sometimes if a guy doesn't block you,
There's
stay
4
there.
quarterbacks in this, 3 quarterbacks in this room.
No, I'm just saying. No, on
We're
defense,
telling you how it
Tell
is.
him, Ricky.
no, on defense, they would tell you if the guy doesn't block you, stay there because they want you to go inside. They're letting you go on purpose. And so you always looked out for that. So that was the first read. I understand what you're saying with the defensive end and the corner, all that read. But the first read of the fullback was if he comes across the line, you have an opening because your tackle now is sealing off the linebacker. But if he stays there because he just saw the guy go past him, he's waiting to see what happens. Don't give it to the fullback. Let the fullback hit him and pick up that block, and now you go around the end. But anyway, that's
So I'll
we're all
tell you
trying to
what.
remember 50 years ago, like we all really remember
Yeah,
that. I
when
don't
I
remember last
started,
week.
when Scott and Ray and I played, they didn't even have the wishbone. We used to run I formation or a split
Okay.
back. I was a flanker most of the time, and it was all pass and reverse plays going. It was great. We were a lot of passing and
And
running.
I also think the first 3 years, because the first year I played, we didn't even have tackles. It was just guards and ends. That was it. No tackles. And then the last 2 years, then they started having tackles.
Oh, that was
Okay.
cool. I
So
like
went
that.
from 9-man football to 11-man football in
Okay.
Oh, okay.
'Know that.
71.
Huh.
Yeah,
I've forgotten about that. That's right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. And now, why was that, Ray? Because I mean, football was going on since the 50s. There was it just because it was still new or
I think it was new. Maybe there weren't enough. The first 2 years of the league, which I didn't even live in Panama at the time, but
right?
maybe they didn't have enough people. I don't know.
Well, you remember last year when Guy Naka was with us. I think he said that the junior football league initially was started with a heavyweight division as a almost like a JV for the
Hmm.
kids that couldn't play high school football.
Okay.
And then it ended up growing and evolving to become its own league. Now you were getting more and more people playing. All of a sudden, you're like, well, heck, let's just expand this. Which made sense with all the military bases. You certainly had enough
Yeah.
people there to fill
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. And I think what was happening in the military bases, they became a lot more populated because the Vietnam War was coming to an end, so they had all these extra people, so they were sending them all down to Panama. A lot of us, and
Interesting.
that's actually how we and my family ended up there. 'Cause my dad had just come home from Vietnam. We spent like
Okay.
a year in the States, and then they sent us to Panama.
I never thought about it that way. That's
Yeah,
true. That makes sense. You
yeah,
got to put them somewhere, and
yeah.
you don't want to keep them at home because then you can't get
No,
Uncle Sam to cut a check next year. So you got to spend that money and send
yeah,
them somewhere else.
yeah,
So, but that's cool. So now
yeah.
you played lightweights and heavyweights, Ray, or just lightweights, or how did
Just
it?
the first year I played, there was no such thing as lightweights, and then the second two
Okay,
years I played there, that's when they had a lightweight team.
okay,
So I played on the heavy. I guess you'd call it the heavyweights all 3
the whole
years.
time, yeah.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
kind of makes sense with what Guy Naka said last year, where
Mm.
it started as a support for the junior varsity for the high school team. So makes
Mhm.
sense that you only had a heavyweight team, and it was probably borderline 15-year-olds and up kind of thing or something.
Yes, and I remember, when I first started there, the legends who were like maybe 2 years younger, 2 years older than me, but they still were pretty. They had a reputation. They started the reputation of the Rams, but it was guys like Willie Nowotny, and I think there was a guy named Mark Anderson, I think his name was.
Yep.
He was a
Mark.
running back, and I mean those guys. When we first came in, we just looked at them as gods. They were like
Right? Yeah,
they were
that's
just
it.
legends.
Yeah, we
So
have ours there. We
yeah.
my age group. We played in 1979, 80, 81, that era,
Mm.
and for me, Paul Myers was that gunslinger.
Okay.
He
Okay.
was to be a quarterback, man. I was like, that guy, that's a baller there, and those guys, Bobby O'Connor was to me
Yeah.
another baller.
Yeah.
Those. It's funny we talk that way. These guys were legends, and they were to us, right? Because that's
Yeah.
the only thing we knew down there,
Well,
and so
I can also say I played with a legendary quarterback, and that was Scott. I mean, from that time till the rest of my time, I played football. I never played with a better quarterback. He was awesome.
He was. That he
He
was.
was great. He was so accurate, and he had so much knowledge of the game. I'm not just saying it because he's here, but that's just the truth.
Well, Scott, you ought to hear what he says when you're not here. So don't worry about it.
Hey,
Hey,
Ray's still the best running back I ever handed
hey,
off to.
Scott, you owe him $20. Don't forget.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Cash App or Venmo, we're good. And don't forget the house take on this one as well. But
Got to pay
so
the
Scott,
dues.
what tell us about your football story, your Ram story, how it got started and all that good stuff. Because you didn't live in a zone, correct?
I did not. In fact, I lived in Panama itself. So the way I got connected with the Rams was by going to Ancon Elementary. And that's where I found out about Little League football. And of course, my dad encouraged it. So that's how it all began. This is kind of interesting because Larry was a true Zonian. I was in Panama, and Ray was at the base at the beginning and then also in Panama. So it was interesting the way the different people were drawn into the Balboa Rams and how it came to be. So
Right.
it's pretty fascinating. Driving the Canal Zone every day for school and then staying there either for Rams practice or Little League baseball with the police or,
You're on police too, right on.
Yeah, great activities and very fond memories. I'm so glad I got to participate in that.
Yeah, no, for
And
sure.
also in Panama, since I lived there, I never realized till I left. I think it was ninth grade when I left, but Spanish had to be all the bill. I taught Spanish for 33 years in Houston.
Wow.
Wow.
Little did I realize that when I left, I was taking something that would be invaluable for the rest
Yes.
of my life.
And you could pass it on to others. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
Oh, good stuff. Great
Well,
story.
what you guys left, the legacy you guys left today in Panama is huge. Football in
Yeah.
Panama it's so big. It's
Yeah,
at
yeah, you know,
DNA
I had-
level now.
I had a nice conversation today with Pablo Prieto, and we were talking about some football stories and Cayuco stories, which we'll leave for another day. And actually, speaking of leaving for another day, again in typical fashion, we start talking as Zonians and Rams and everything, and next thing you know, it's like, oh my God, it's past our deadline, because we do have another guest that we're going to bring on. But again, staying with the Rams theme, remember, guys, on the bottom of the screen, we're going to keep it going there for a little bit longer. There's a contact information there. Let us know if you're going to attend. Let us know what you want to see, what you think would be something really cool to have or do, at the Rams reunion, because this is a really good time. This is the one part of the zone that so many people from different age groups could relate to and stand arm in arm, brothers in arms. Even though we played in different eras, we were still part of the Balboa Rams, and that's a cool badge to have. So, but between now and the reunion, we're going to have these guys on periodically to talk about any updates to the reunion and things of that nature. And also, again, we're working on that story about these Rams years in review. So you guys, obviously, there's three of you here on this team. If you got anybody else that wants to join you, and we'll talk about one of your seasons from start to finish. We're working with the 1978 Rams team, Dave Rivera, Paul Myers, and those guys. They had an undefeated Shrine Bowl champion. They're going to talk about that season. We're going to find a couple other folks from that team. So out there in the audience, folks, if you played on that 78 Rams team, or if you played against that 78 Rams team, same thing goes for the 70. I guess for you guys, it'd be what, the 72, 73 team?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you guys were on that team as well and you want to join them and tell the story of that season, let us know and reach out to us. But anyway, guys, listen, thank you so much. Appreciate you guys joining us. We're going to go ahead and switch gears now, guys. We're going to bring in somebody that has a really, really cool story. He wrote a book about the invasion. Well, you know what? I'm just going to let him tell that story. So again, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be talking to you guys soon.
Thank
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you soon.
Don Stock, welcome to the happy hour at the BYC. We are again switching gears from Balboa Yacht Club to BYC. But ladies and gentlemen, joining us is Don Stock. Don Stock is like most people that have spent any significant amount of time in the Canal Zone, they grow to love it. They grow to become an honorary Zonian. You know, there was a while there we think, oh, you weren't born in the zone, you're not a Zonian. Well, you know what? A Zonian is a bigger experience than that. And so we have a lot of people that were part of our Zonian family that grew up with us that weren't necessarily born in the zone. I mean, heck, I was born in Panama City myself. I wasn't born in the zone, but you know, I'm certainly a Zonian. In fact, I've got a tattoo, so I'm officially a Zonian. But
Yeah, a Zonian nowadays, really, a Zonian is of the military. You know, the Panamanians that went to the Balboa High School, obviously us, and, you know, anybody that diplomatic or anything like that, they're now all Zonians. And I
yeah,
know
for
that
sure.
some people will have an issue with that, but
Mala
we're
suerte.
all family
Yep,
now.
mala suerte. But yeah, but anyhow, so you know, recently I've seen some postings on Facebook on a couple of the different, you know, Canal Zone pages, obviously building this show out and developing and putting the show out. I've been more active on a lot of those pages, and I've come across this story of a book, you know, regarding the invasion of Panama, and somebody that wrote this book that was down there, spent some time down there prior to the invasion and whatnot, but had that connection, built that connection with Panama, and makes sense. The title of the book, which is a One Heart, Two Countries, right? Don, am I getting it right?
You got it. You got it right.
Awesome. So we want to talk about this book because we can all relate to this book. Every one of us, you know, shares a story, even if you were long gone from the zone before that invasion. I know I left in January before the invasion. I think maybe Ron had some inside information and he said, hey, we got to go. But nonetheless, it's still something that resonated with all of us. I know I can imagine that pretty much every Zonian out there, when news came on that there was an invasion, the attack had started, you turned your TVs on and whatnot. So, Don, listen, welcome to the show. That was a really long introduction, but welcome. I'm glad to have you on here. Glad to meet you finally, and looking forward to hearing what your story is and what your book's all about.
Well, thank you for the invite. I greatly appreciate it. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, no, we're glad. You know, I've seen that the postings out there, and I'm like, okay, I gotta get this book, and I definitely want to read it. And now that I'm able to hear it from the source themselves and tell me what it was all about, I'm definitely gonna get it. Maybe I'll get it directly from you and have you sign it for me and send it to.
I will be at the reunion, so I'll sign everybody's books at the reunion.
Perfect. Awesome.
Very good,
I'll definitely get one there from you and sign it. So tell us about yourself first, your history, and then let's go ahead and transition over to your book.
Well, I was a paratrooper in the U.S. Army, and I got stationed at Panama. And I tell you, the heat really it took a while to get used to the heat there because I'm originally from Missouri, so
a little bit different.
It was a different world, but I. Little by little, getting the base was closed down when I first got there. There was still a lot of issues going on. I got there right after Just Cause, so it was you would say it was hot. You know, it was a little. I don't want to use the word dangerous, but you know they made sure that we, you know, if we went off base, we had somebody with us, et cetera, et cetera. But as time goes by, the base opened up. We were allowed to go out and travel, and I explored the beaches, the restaurants, the bars, and I fell in love with the country,
which is easy to do.
Yes, it is.
Which is easy to do. Yeah. What part of the country? What part of the experience that's the one that mostly that you remember of? Was it the beaches or the city, the food?
Initially it was the beaches, but when I started going out, I matured in my travels, going to the markets, going to the stores, going to off the beaten path, meeting the actual people that the actual Panamanian people, and that was just an experience that you just can't, you wouldn't get if you stayed in your barracks when you were in the military.
That's correct. So that's what got you, was the warmth of the Panamanian, their hearts and their welcoming. even though they hadn't just gotten through what they went through. Well, that's good. I'm glad that is what really caught your attention of Panama, because that's really, truly honorable in my opinion.
And Ricky, that you brought up a good point. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to write the book, because I wanted people to experience what the Panamanian people, the Zonians, Panamanian people, everybody went through, because the U.S. and Panama was connected so tightly, interwoven.
Yes,
yes. And for that, and after the U.S. attacked Panama, my wife and I were having this discussion that it's amazing how the Panamanian people bounced back after the invasion. Most countries would never ever, welcome back the U.S. like that, and Panama just opened their arms. And
well, I mean, part of it certainly was they got rid of a dictator, which always helps for one.
Yes,
but going back to what you said, that connection there is, my mom's Panamanian, or was Panamanian. She's not with us anymore, but my dad, American. He was in the Air Force, got stationed down there, and absolutely loved it. And so when his enlistment was up, he literally got discharged. The next day he went into the police academy, and it just went from from a military deployed in Panama to now a civilian living in Panama working for the U.S. government. Mm-hmm. But so again, we had that deep connection there. Ricky's parents, I mean, his dad was a police officer, worked with my dad, and his uncle was president of Panama. So I mean, you're talking about
his little brother,
because I mean, law enforcement, in enforcing American laws in an American territory in Panama, and then his brother is, the chief law enforcement officer for the country, the president. So, you talk about deep connections. I mean, I'm not sure you get much deeper than that when the two countries are intertwined like that. But there was a lot of that, and so you're right. It really was a way for that type of experience to take place, even after something like you say, like an invasion and whatnot, where you normally would have that animosity. And here it's, well, this is, my cousin helping me out in a bad situation that went and beat somebody up that happened to be a friend of mine, but helped me out in a sense, is what that was. But so then, you were living down there, you grew up, you didn't grow up down there, but you spent enough time down there that you saw the connection, you experienced it, and then you thought, hey, this is really unique what's happened here and how this all turned out. So when did you start writing the book?
So that happened during COVID.
Okay.
And I had a lot of free time on my hands, and it just, I had gathered so many stories. I don't know if you could tell, but I love to talk.
Right, so right, absolutely.
I
that's another reason why you can be a Zonian.
Yes. So one day I read in a newspaper that Mark Bowden was going to be at a library near me.
Okay.
So I don't know if you know Mark Bowden, but he's the writer of Black Hawk Down.
Oh no, okay,
oh,
no,
yeah, yes, right yes, on. That makes
So I went, I'm a book nut, a library nut. So I went there and listened to him talk. He was presenting a new book about Vietnam, and I was hooked from there on out. I was basically, it was probably, he probably thought I was like a stalker or something. I was really, I use the word, the young people, I was a fanboy, I guess.
Yeah, right. Of course.
People call it,
Yeah.
And my wife says I looked like I was holding my breath the whole time I was there. And I think my wife might have sent you guys a photo. Oh, what are you drinking?
Well, I'd like to say I'm drinking a Panama beer, but it isn't Panama beer. I can't get that here in Tampa. We're going to have to try and figure out a way to do it. If somebody out there in Panama, hopefully might be in the audience, have a way to send some up here, please do. We could use it,
My favorite was Cerveza Balboa. So
yeah, they're the big ones now. Everybody's favorite now. Mine was Cristal's. I don't know if you guys remember Cristal's.
Cristal was a lot of people, I'm class of 86. So a lot of us were drinking Soberano was the other one. If you didn't drink Panama, Soberano was like the alternative.
Yeah.
But cool. So then, so COVID came around.
COVID came around.
you're like, you know what, man, I'm sitting here. I gotta sit here with this stupid mask and not go out 6 feet away from everybody. And what the hell am I gonna do? Let me write a book, right?
Yes, yes, and it was an interesting road that I went down. It was I went on every website, every Facebook page. I put my message out telling people, explaining to them that I was going to write a book, and you get different types of people. You get people that that want to tell war stories, except people who want to, but they get to a point and they get nervous and then they back out. So
Right.
I had a lot of people lined up and then they would back up. So
Okay.
it was a lot of up and down and gathering the interviews. And
Let me ask you this: did you get any kind of a negative response from anybody? Because Zonians can be a little bit protective of their brand,
yeah, oh yes,
and
no,
so some of them are like, hey, you weren't really a Zonian kind of thing. And did you ever come across any of that?
well, no, I didn't get negative, but that they are protective of that story
Yes.
because it was it's a dark hole to go down. And when you try to go down that road with somebody, it's a sensitive spot to go because they haven't thought about those things in 30 years, and it's you really have to do it little. You have to take baby steps. It's a crawl, walk, run kind of.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, we lost friends. Some of us
Yes,
lost family members, and
yes,
even on the other side, we assume anytime that you're in a conflict and your country is fighting another country, those soldiers on the other country, they're considered the enemy. They're shooting at me, I'm shooting at them, kind of thing. But for us, me in particular, right? Growing up, class of '86, so my high school years, I didn't leave Panama till '89. So for those 2 or 3 years, even after high school, I'm running around Panama doing my thing, and I'm interacting with a lot of these police officers who are Panamanian. And I would imagine a lot of them probably lost their lives that day. And to me,
yeah,
I got along with them. I speak Spanish, so we could interact with them. It wasn't an adversarial thing. They were still Panamanians, and they're fighting on behalf of Noriega. Obviously, probably weren't volunteering for it, but nonetheless, they were a part of this that we knew them. And again, like I said, there was friends of ours that we lost, during this whole thing. So yeah, to your point, it is a dark
yes,
area because Panama to me was always. I remember uh, being probably 4 or 5 years old, growing up on Barnaby Street, and one of my friends that lived in the same building I did. We were having my birthday party. There was a place in Panama called Parque Urraca, which was a little amusement park, and he didn't show up because his parents didn't let him go into Panama. And that was so strange because most people did not behave that way.
mhm,
We were accepted in Panama. Panamanians somewhat accepted in the zone. There was obviously, things about at night curfews and this, that, and the other, but I think that was more of a kind of, I hate to say almost an elitist thing, but nonetheless, there really wasn't a rift between Panamanians and Zonians. A lot of Panamanians went to school at BHS, and it wasn't just Panamanians with money. I know a lot of friends of mine that I went to school with in Panama that didn't have money. They just their parents sacrificed to put them in an American school, but they were
mhm.
nonetheless Panamanian. So it is something that we look at like it
That's
happened.
my dad's story. My dad, we're Panamanians, and my grandfather, they had to sacrifice to get my dad into Balboa High School.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah. So
absolutely, and some of
yeah,
these people paid good money for it. So now, so tell us about the book. Everybody wants to know about the book, and obviously that's what you're here for, to tell us what that story is, so we can get excited and want to
Mhm.
read it.
Well, that's sort of that's a big yellow onion, really. There's a lot of layers. There's a lot of layers to it. I like I was saying, I wanted to tell personable stories. So I could have sat down and wrote a book about war, but
Right.
I didn't. That's not me. I didn't want to tell that story. I wanted to tell personable stories. So what I did was I gathered my interviews, and and we just placed them in I tried to place them in chronological order. So, pre, and move it on, so that when you're reading through, through the
Sure.
whole, through the whole process.
You can follow the story.
You can follow the story. So that it was pre, and then, little by little, it worked its way through to when I got to Panama.
Right.
So.
Yeah, no, and I think that's it's to me, I think that makes that story more appealing because, I know where I was during all of these things, whether I was in Panama at the time or whether I was here in the States and hearing about things and keeping in touch. Funny story, kind of scary, maybe kind of irritating. My mom was in Panama at the time. She had actually flown to Costa Rica to go stay with family there for a bit. And she said, I'm going to go to Panama for just like 1 or 2 days. And I remember my dad saying, you should really just come back home. Things are really starting to get ugly and whatnot. Well, sure as shit, she flies down to Panama and lands that day. And that night, the invasion kicked off. So, poor thing. She ended up finally somehow managing to got to the embassy or something. Even though she's Panamanian, by now she had citizenship as well, U.S.
Sure.
citizenship. So was able to somehow get on a Howard, on a plane in Howard, a C-130 up to I think it was Charleston, she ended up flying to, and then we managed to get her home from there. But yeah, that was, that's my connection to the invasion.
Mm-hmm.
There was a personal connection and certainly a fearful one, because I remember, it kicked off late at night, obviously. And I think I was in bed sleeping or maybe watching TV or something. And I remember my dad comes in and he's like, turn the TV on. Or I must have been asleep or something, but whatever. But anyway, I put the TV on and CNN or whatever it was. And they're showing the invasion of Panama, and Operation Just Cause, and holy shit, what's going on? And of course, first thing I ask is, have you heard from Mom? He goes, no, and I'm calling and it can't even get through, which of course not. Everybody else is calling Panama now, so because we're now in that 24-hour news cycle world, right? Where it's not like the next day in the newspaper you read about it, you hear about it in real time and you want to find out. So it took, I think, a day and a half before we were able to hear from my mom and find out that she's fine. She's at one of her brother's, sister's, cousin's house, whatever, and nonetheless got home. But I imagine there's a lot of other people that probably went through that. Anybody in the audience there, if you got something to chat, tell us what your memory of the invasion was. Where were you when you first heard the invasion started? Because I'd like to hear that story. And then go ahead, Don.
So that's a good lead in. So I was in Lake Tahoe skiing with my unit. We had been given a break and we all went skiing. And I talk about it. I talk about it in my book about that. And we came back from skiing that night, and a bunch of 20-year-olds. We walked into the barracks, and we looked, and there was a whole bunch of people in front of the TV, and that's not normal in military barracks,
right?
And I walked up to the group of guys, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? And they said, we just invaded Panama. And please don't take this as an insult, but I was like, Panama? Where's Panama? and this guy goes, well, it's in Central America. We have bases there. We just invaded. And it just took a while for me to, I'm like, I had to think about it. So I sat there and watched TV and I go into further details about that in my book, but it was, if I would have not been there, I would have never had the idea to eventually go to Panama. That was that one little event of me walking into that room sparked.
That was an impactful moment.
I mean, it changed my life. It changed my life. I don't know where I would be if I wouldn't have walked into that room.
That's interesting that would resonate with you, not being from the Canal Zone or not having that initial connection there in that sense, but
it grabbed me that night. It's the strangest thing. It was just like it grabbed me and just pulled me in, and it was meant to be. It was
absolutely.
My father-in-law, God rest his soul, he he would ask me every other day, where was I when Panama was invaded? Because to him, the entire United States invaded Panama. And
Right.
because I was in the military, he would. I mean, we would be sitting there having a, a, a beer in a bar, and he'd turn and he goes, "Where were you, Don?" I'm like, I'd tell him, Cesar, I was in Lake Tahoe skiing, and he would just look at me like, "Yeah, sure."
Right.
And he would ask me that till the day he died.
Right.
Don, where
Right.
were he? Never believed me.
Right.
And
You're in the military. You had to be in the invasion.
yeah, exactly. And it took a lot of time for me to gain his trust.
Right.
He went to school in New York, and he came back. He came back from he graduated and came back and returned to Panama. But they wanted him to fight in the Vietnam War.
Wow.
And and he was like, "Ciao, I'm out of here."
Right.
He graduated and went back, and but yeah, so that's how I ended up. That's how I ended up in Panama. And so back to the stories. I wanted the stories to be as pure as possible. So I didn't. So what I did was we would go little by little, and I wanted the stories. I really didn't touch a lot of the people's stories. I had to tweak locations. I had to Google map things, but
yeah,
I wanted the stories to be to be their story. I didn't want my words. I wanted their words.
Sure.
And I think it came out pretty well in the book. If you get a chance, please check it out.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely. So now, how many stories did you end up collecting to put into this book?
18 altogether. 18
Okay.
altogether. But the way that I have it in the book, it's they kind of flow through. So you could literally in one finish one and then go into another one, and not know it unless you're paying attention, because I wanted it to flow through the timeline. Like I said, I'm a book nerd. I can't stand the way books are written. It's
almost like an oxymoron.
Yeah, I know exactly. Well, I have really bad ADD.
Right on.
So I wrote this.
All of us.
Yeah. Well, I wrote this book. I wrote this book for people who have really bad ADD, because you have to read it to understand. But
right, it'll be an easy read for me then. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, for sure. And I think it's important again to get that perspective and get, like, to your point, the stories from the families. We're so used to, in this world today, especially with so many channels and streaming services and YouTube and everything else, everybody wants to see the bomb drop and everybody wants to see the explosion and that.
Yes.
But we're missing out on the story. We're missing out on the emotional impact that had on somebody, how it changed some people. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, it changed their lives in a really, really, bad way, because they lost a loved one and whatnot. And to others, it changed their way of life. Ricky and I both, our fathers are police officers for the Canal Zone Police. So, earlier Laura put on there that her mom watched the Balboa police station blow up.
Yeah, my mom too. She heard it, but she didn't see it, but she heard it because she was right by it. And the helicopters.
I mean, as a child, the amount of times that I've spent in that police station just because my dad would take me there. He worked as a detective back in the photo lab in the back there, and going back to Rams conversations, he was like the unofficial Rams photographer, and he'd be developing all those pictures on the Canal Zone government's dime and using their film and everything. But I spent many, many days in that place. If my dad had to go do something late at night one time, and run with him there. And I remember, the brass. Remember the banister there, the big front desk, and it had the brass rails. I remember sliding on those things all the time, and my dad's like, "Clean those up," because they always wanted to have those nice and
That was
shiny.
your job, huh?
Yeah, so
Brass. You had to clean them up.
so
Yeah.
I hear stuff like that. That to me again is living here in the States, but see it on TV and see that police station on fire.
Mhm.
It's emotional, right?
Yes.
That's a place that I knew
Yeah,
and
my
knew it
mom,
intimately.
Willie, my mom said she heard the helicopters, and then the loudspeaker says, "You got 10 seconds to evacuate. 9, 8, 7." My mom would hear the whole thing, and then after, of course, one, boom, 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 boom.
Wow. That's amazing,
She
and
was
that,
right there. Remember, she lived right behind the KC.
yeah. I mean, literally right behind
Right
that.
in front of the
Close.
police station.
That was close.
That's as
Yeah.
close as you get, yeah. So she got into the bathtub, which was, I don't know where she got that idea, but it was a great idea.
Yeah, no, it's kind of like what they say with the earthquakes and everything else. Your house is falling, get in a bathtub. That's apparently the secure place. So good move on her part.
So during the invasion, my father-in-law had
Then
a
somebody from Canal came and picked. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, there was some feedback. Sorry. My father-in-law's, which story is in the book. He had a famous horse called Pati Largo. I don't know if you're into horse racing, but that horse was actually stolen during the invasion.
Get out of here.
And
it had to be stolen by a horse person, because nobody's going to steal a horse just like, well, war. Let me go steal a horse.
Yeah. Well, they took him and they put him as a workhorse.
Oh.
And this horse was worth,
right,
incredible amount of money. And so my father-in-law, after the invasion, he Panamanians have a hard time keeping secrets.
Yes.
I get a hard time for my wife saying that, but but so he hunted down the people. Yes, exactly. And so he hunted down the people and got his horse back.
Right on. Well done.
But it's my wife's family, they thank God they didn't lose any people during the invasion.
Right.
But
good.
that event did change their lives for the rest, for the rest of the
Changed
time.
everybody's life. It changed. It was to me, that was really the official splitting of the United States and Panama.
Yes.
Right. We had this long drawn out transition with the treaty 79 to 99, but nothing says get out of my life like an invasion. I mean,
yes.
You can't be more clear that we ain't friends right now, like an invasion. So, even though it was, again, done for quote unquote benevolent reasons and to get somebody out that many, many Panamanians were quite happy to get rid of anyway, it's still nonetheless, somebody was blowing your country up. Somebody was shooting at your country, at your soldiers and your people. So, I imagine that had it not been for the fact that this was a 100-year relationship, that people probably wouldn't have been so forgiving and wouldn't have been so understanding, even if it is to get rid of a dictator. It's kind of like a divorce where you're like, you can be mad at this person, at my ex, whoever, but as a kid, you can't. You don't have a right to do that, to resent that. Only I do.
Yes.
And so as Americans, we didn't have a right to attack these Panamanians, even though the Panamanians didn't like Noriega, but it's, I think it's just a dynamic there that.
So not to go down another road, but during my interviews, I found that, and this is some bochinche, that the U.S. military had been, for lack of better words, practicing this invasion a year and a half prior to it. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know it until I started doing interviews with U.S. military, and I'm like, hold on here. I thought there was certain events that set off this invasion. So why were we practicing this a year and a half prior?
Well, they had some apparently.
I would say, if anything, Noriega's reputation.
Yes.
No, I think this was. They probably knew that this guy is going to give them the reason to invade.
Oh,
so
yes.
Get ready for it, because it's only a matter of time. It's almost like, you don't really have to hit the guy. All you got to do is make fun of him. He's going to punch you and he's going to get busted for assault.
Yes.
So,
and if you think about it, it was a perfect coming together, because they wanted, I believe the U.S. military didn't want to leave Panama. So I think that they were trying to create a. I'm going to get in trouble for saying I should shut up.
No, don't worry about it.
But I think the U.S. military and the government was trying to come up with an excuse to stay in Panama. And I think I think they were using that conflict to do so.
Well, I can certainly, to your point of a year and a half prior, we left in January, and it wasn't something that we had talked about or planned as a family that, come January of '89, we're getting out of here. But, by probably November, my dad's like, okay, we're leaving. Let's start making plans, because again, it's not something that you just, oh, let's buy a plane ticket and leave tomorrow, right? You're going to have to make arrangements. Where were they going to move to? You got a house to close up. You got further. You got to make all these arrangements. So the fact that we left in January, my dad knew this. And again, he was second in charge at Canal Protection. So he was in those meetings in Corey Heights. He knew what was going on, and he knew what was setting up. I know Dave MacArthur, Chile, he worked in Howard at the motor pool there. And he was seeing planes coming in with equipment and, pulling a big transport into a hangar, shut the doors, and then an hour, 2 hours later, you open the doors and the plane, backs out and leaves. What are you unloading there? So they were preparing for this long before.
Yes,
It wasn't
Willie, there was also, because I've heard several podcasts on this topic on the Panamanian side, there was also, and I'm sure the U.S. government knew spy-wise, Panama had Noriega had options of blowing up certain things in the canal zone.
Correct.
Sabotage. So they knew about that beforehand. So obviously, maybe that's another reason why they were practicing their invasion, because they knew sooner or later they were going to hit somewhere in the locks or in the canal or or an canal executive's house or something of that sort.
What irritates me the most is that during my interviews, I found out that the U.S. could have taken out Noriega way before the invasion.
Correct.
It's stronger than irritates. It infuriates me that the U.S. went to the point that they went to. They could have, with the way that U.S. and Panama was so interwoven, they could have took out Noriega at any time.
Absolutely.
They could. It kind of hurts when I find that information out, because so many people lost their lives on both sides unnecessarily.
Yeah. No, it is. It's one of those things. It's the geopolitics, and we see that go on a lot. Unfortunately, it really is the reality of it. But nonetheless, it happened, right?
Yes.
And it impacted a lot of people. We're seeing a lot of chats popping up here, about things that people experienced and saw and went through.
Let's talk about some of those.
Yeah,
let's go with Jim, since we got that one up right now. Jim says he was there was a dog training station in Corundu. I remember that one over by where the horses were, right in front of Corundu Junior High School.
I think across the street in that area.
Across the street. Yeah, and some heavy combat, he says. It was first time in U.S. history. That's correct. A female captain led an offensive maneuver. That is correct. This happened very close to my house. My family was taking cover underneath the kitchen table. Right on. He was at the Zonian party at Cardenas. Well, then you must know my little brother and sister, Ray and Reynaldo and Rain Arroyo.
Yeah,
they were also at that party.
And unfortunately, that was the party that Ricky Paul and Mark Mirap were at.
They left from there.
And they decided, when the helicopters were all flying overhead and heading in to start this thing, they're like, hey, let's go check this out. And unfortunately,
I actually have a chapter in my book about that party.
Oh, okay. Right on. Cool. I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to hear about that. Yeah. But we have here Andrew F. Tomaitis, who was a captain in the Canal. He heard there were some ambushes 2 weeks before the actual invasion on the backside of Clayton.
Yes, there was. Well, those ambushes. I don't know if you quite say there was ambushes. That was when
they were probing attacks.
They were trying to. They tried to rescue for lack of better words, a U.S. He was a spy, basically. It probably was one. There was a rescue attempt for that. Maybe that was in that event there. A helicopter got shot down. They kept it very hush hush. But
Got
yeah,
it.
there was some bad.
Really, a helicopter got shot down
Yeah, I saw
Yes.
the pictures.
prior
yeah.
to the invasion. You're talking
Yes,
about,
prior-
right?
prior to the
over
invasion.
in Amador. I saw
Yes.
the pictures right in
Yeah.
front of the Officers Club.
Yes, you're right. Yep.
Yeah, I saw
Wow,
the picture.
right? That's the first I've ever heard of that. That's fascinating.
And
That's absolutely fascinating.
yeah, it's
Frank Alberga, he also put up something here. Wait, Jim, the U.S. military could have taken Noriega out, but there was also concern that Noriega's successor would be as bad or worse. Yeah, that's true.
yes.
I do believe that. Let me see. Then we have Frank. I was on my way home from finals at the U.S. Air Force Academy. Right on, Frank. One day early, was in Miami staying at a classmate's family for one night, and then just kicked off.
An outsider.
Yeah, it looks like he was stuck there for a while. And then you got airlifted to Howard. Oh, because you were living in Howard, of course.
Can I say something real fast, please?
Sure.
So someone in the comments said that I'm an outsider, and let me say this. Let me say this. I would never ever try to claim that I'm a Zonian or anything else, a Panamanian. I lived there for over 13 years, but I would never ever try.
Well, and let me stop you there, Don. I don't give a rat's ass. Okay, you're sharing.
I already said you
to us here in Panama, honestly, and I get it. And that's why I said this earlier that the Zonians are protective of their brand. Okay, they really are. But listen, Zonians, nobody here is throwing any claims out, and it really doesn't matter. And
I'm bringing them all in. They're all in.
But
pronounce
honestly,
them today. You guys are all
story.
Zonians.
Maybe I took it a little too sensitive. I apologize, but
no, you're good. You're good.
You're good.
We appreciate you.
Listen, we understand. We understand where that's coming from. But
dude, listen, I appreciate that you took an interest in Panama, not having a connection to it.
Yes,
correct.
And writing a story that now I've even been educated about a piece of it. I'm a big fan of history. Ricky and I are talking about doing, a history project on the side. Not even a Zonian thing, but I love history. I love reading history. I love watching history documentaries, all that stuff. And so anytime I hear something that's of historical nature, that's new to me, I enjoy it. And this one certainly has a connection. Even more so, Amador. Hell, I lived there. From first grade to 10th or 11th grade, I lived 3 houses away from the Amador Gate. So I rode my bikes in Amador constantly. And I'm, if you told me, well, it went down in this place, I could probably visualize it going down and what trees it might have hit or missed or whatever, because I know that place intimately. And, that's cool. And so thank you for sharing that and bringing that story here. And, if you're an outsider, then fuck yeah. Fantastic for the outsiders too, man.
We accept them all, man.
Okay.
The more the better, in my opinion.
I just I don't want any bad blood with anybody.
No,
you're good. And we don't either. And it's happy hour at the yacht club, so we're all drinking beer and it's all good.
I got my Irish coffee that I love for our podcast. Cheers, guys.
Somebody mentioned the horse stables earlier. And,
that was Jim. That was talking about that.
I actually
knows a lot about the horse stables. He was
I actually had a trail riding business at those stables when I first moved to Panama. When I was a civilian. I would take people on trail rides behind Albrook and Clayton through the jungle there.
All right, so look, then let me interrupt you. So there's the context of it, if that was the statement. So right on, Laura. And again, that wasn't even meant at all like you're an outsider. It was more just an outsider's perspective in a way, in an appreciative term. So
I understand.
You,
sorry, Laura. Sorry,
Laura. And listen, Laura's good people, man.
Sorry, I apologize.
Laura has got a lot to say about
Zonian there, man. So,
I apologize. I love that.
It's all good. No apologies needed anywhere here. No. We're good.
We do love everybody.
Everybody salute. Cheers. No apologies here.
I'll buy you a drink, Laura. Sorry.
There you go. All right, let's see what John Frank's talking here. My old man went out and got Lieutenant Perryman out of Balboa, covered him in the back of the Jeep, and nice, right on.
Right on, John.
A little Jason Bourne action there. Heck yeah, man.
There you go.
Right on. No, you didn't, Laura. You don't have to apologize. Again, apologies are not allowed here.
Yes, I'll buy you a beer, Laura, at the reunion. Okay.
Right on.
Me too, Laura.
Heck yeah. No, and Laura is good people. You absolutely top-notch zoning right there. So, but yeah, that's awesome. Good stories there. Hey, Kelly, what up?
Hey, Kelly Mo's on. So, Don, on these stories that you have on your book, you want to talk about like maybe one or two that like maybe the first or the second chapter of your book
Yeah, which one was your most impactful? Which
Oh well,
story was the
oh
one that
gosh.
touched you the most?
Well, you know what, they all did. Unfortunately,
I knew you
it's
would.
like
That's a cop out. Come
it's
on.
like having multiple children. You can't openly admit that you love one child more than
Right.
the
I
other.
got you.
They,
Fair enough.
they, uh,
By the way,
when-
Laura wants a rum and coke, not a beer. Just so you know.
okay, Ron Abuelo.
There you go. Look at that. See, right on.
But the books, I mean, the stories are so. I think one of the more lighthearted one was about Gene the monkey.
Okay.
And Gene the monkey, he an individual that I served with in Louisiana told me this story. He was down prior to the invasion, and
Okay.
he was walking around Corzal and the PX, and there was a guy selling turtles and lizards, and there was a cage and there was a monkey in the cage. And my friend said, "How much for the monkey?" And he said $50. So my friend bought the monkey.
Hell yeah, that's a bargain for an
And,
American.
yeah,
Like, hell yeah,
and
monkey,
he took the monkey back to the barracks, and the monkey lived in the barracks with all the guys.
I love it.
And the monkey, if he didn't like you, he would get into your stuff, and he liked eating toothpaste. So
Wow,
he
right
and he would go get it. You know,
At least you had a
GIs
monkey with
always
fresh
have
breath, man.
candy
That's something
everywhere. But when I mean, this monkey just had its, the whole barracks to himself. And that's the monkey's on the cover. That's Gene.
Oh, right on.
Oh,
Okay.
right on.
Look,
Yeah,
and now
so
we
that-
added some context to that. Right
Yes.
on.
Yeah, so that's and that's Gene. He named it after Gene Simmons.
Right on.
Even
we're
better,
all
man.
Kiss fans
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
Yeah.
Who's not a Kiss fan, right?
Heck
So
yeah. Well
so
done.
I thought that this picture kind of sums. You have the mola.
Mola.
You have the mola in the background. You have the U.S. soldier, and you have Gene the monkey.
Heck yeah, man.
So
Did Gene go on any army diligence thing?
no, he didn't. He
Did
didn't go.
Gene
He didn't
ski
go
at
on
Lake
any
Tahoe?
missions. But the soldiers love Gene because, and I think I think it really helped those soldiers because they were there in a very sensitive time prior to the invasion. They were running ops into the causeway, which I talk about that in the book. Gene's his owner / friend. They were running ops into the causeway, and my friend didn't know if he was going to even make it home.
Right.
So
Well, you got to imagine these guys. They don't understand that Zonian connection. They don't
No.
understand that Panama connection.
No.
This is to them a potential or future enemy.
Yes.
And so, where I wasn't there, but certainly all of our friends in Cardenas and all that stuff in that party, you're still going out living your life. Granted, a little more anxiety and apprehension, be a little more careful, probably less forays into Panama City, but nonetheless, we didn't have that same, paraphrasing them, that same fear that you guys would, because you guys are Americans. And again, your bosses, your commanders and everyone else is telling you this is the enemy.
So that's a good point. My friend, the owner of Gene, during the time that he was in Panama, he would walk around the Corundu PX? Corzal PX.
Okay.
And he met a young lady who there was housing right behind it, and he made friends with a young lady. He didn't speak Spanish and she didn't speak English, but they would just try to communicate for hours.
Right.
And so he made a friend, so I guess there was a good relationship that he built, I hope, with that young lady. But so with Gene, so eventually my friend, he ended up going back to the United States prior to the beginning of the invasion. And he found down from, do you remember there was a zoo down from the front gate of Clayton? Summit, right
Summit
there.
Gardens.
Summit Gardens.
Yeah.
So he went and took that monkey to Summit Gardens and gave it to them so the monkey would have a nice life right before he left. So the
Wow.
monkey went from being hopefully in a cage to the U.S. Army barracks to hopefully he lived a nice, he had a nice retirement.
Sure. Taken care of somewhere where he's fed and comforted and whatnot. You look at John Frank. His grandfather had a marmoset on a boat in Cristobal Yacht Club. Listen, John, I had a friend, or I didn't. My parents, they had a friend that had a marmoset, and they also had a Great Dane. And the Great Dane laid on top of the marmoset and killed it. I shouldn't laugh, but it was like, this poor dog. I mean, Great Dane's a giant dog, man. They probably didn't even realize what's down there, man. And this poor thing's, whatever. I just reminded me that when you said the marmoset story. But
so in my book, one of the soldiers talks about that yacht club that I spent a lot of time in.
Right on.
Not drunk at all. But
good for you.
The soldier.
Way to waste the opportunity.
Yes.
Yeah, we were always there, but no one was drunk.
Yes, no alcohol.
No, never. We didn't drink in Panama.
My kids might be watching, but one of the interviewees told me that when the invasion started, they chased individuals into the water and they swam out to those boats, and they threw off all their military clothes and they swam out to the boats to hide. Huh. So eventually, the U.S. military had to get a boat and go out and with a translator and explain to them, we're not going to hurt you. Just come off the boats.
All right, at somebody's boat.
So that story's in my book, but
that's funny. Like I told you, I lived right outside of Amador Gate, and as a kid, probably 8, 9, 10 years old, we used to ride our bikes out there and walk down that pier and get on the launches, and we would just for hours ride those launches out while people were going to their boats. We'd help them put their coolers on and take them out to the boat, and we'd come back and just hang out there and just.
That was a good fishing spot. It
was fun.
Oh, it was a good fishing spot. Remember that?
Yeah,
we always fished off that pier.
Absolutely. So
and the view. Who wouldn't love the view?
Right. Absolutely. Yes. I was trying to pull it up here, but I can't do it without pulling you guys down. But
once in a while, a whale would pop up out there.
Yeah. Whoops, that one doesn't work. Let me try another view here that might let us see that view so we can enjoy it. There we go. That'll work.
Yes. Yep.
So that was an iconic view, man. I mean, that was. That's definitely what.
That was actually the view. That was actually what the bar looked like. What Willie tried to simulate there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's
And
I put it out there to the Canal Zone, different groups. I was like, hey, if anybody got pictures of the middle bar in the Canal Zone, send them to me. And then I started throwing stuff together, and I was able to recreate it as close to as I could. But
that sun coming down there and the breeze off the ocean.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, there's
how about when you would go to the downstairs bar, the lower bar that was right up on the water?
Yes.
Oh my God, that was a great place to eat lunch.
And you could just sit there and have a beer and listen to the water hit against the rocks.
Yeah, it was great. It was great, man. That was
there you go.
Right there. Look at that. Yeah. Oh, good job, Ricky. Well done.
That's what it felt like right there.
Yeah.
Sitting there drinking a beer, eating some, something, ceviche.
Yeah. Right, look at what Jim Nom just put in there. You see what he put in the chat there? This is interesting. We were talking about, that whole Zonian attitude kind of being all nonchalant, and there's an invasion getting ready to take place and all that. That how PML, which was personnel movement, limitations, is that what PML probably stood for? I would assume something like that. But it went, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta. When you hit Delta, was basically like Jim says there. Shit's getting really bad now. Stay put. But apparently it lasted for so long, that it was kind of the boy who cried wolf scenario. And so, unfortunately, I think that may have contributed to when these guys, ran into all that gunfire, Ricky and Marky, and then that they just, let's go look and see, but probably nothing's going to happen. Don't worry about it. Because we've been in this, war is imminent. It's kind of like here in Tampa Bay when they keep talking about a hurricane, and everyone finally, when one's getting ready to come in, everyone's like, it'll never come in. Because we get that warning every year, but it never comes in, and so I guess that was the case here, like Jim says there, where everybody was kind of complacent about it. And so, again, you got war imminent, and well, hey, Mom, Dad, I'm going out, and we're going to go to Cardenas and go party till the wee hours of the morning. And
that goes back to the friendship between the Panama and the
trust.
US military,
for sure.
Like 100 years, of
Yeah, of interacting, and a
Yes.
lot of times merging in there because again, like Ricky's dad was a police officer, Panamanian, right? And so there was a lot of that going on where it wasn't strictly everybody on this side of the line was 100% American and this side was 100% Panamanian. There was a mixture there. There was a lot of civilians that were Americans living in Panama that interacted with the zone, but they weren't part of the zone.
Panama is truly a melting pot. I mean,
Yeah.
they say that about the U.S., but Panama has it beat,
Yes.
hands down.
Panama at one time was the only country outside of Israel that had a Jewish president.
Oh, wow.
Only one, yeah.
Wow, how about that?
That was during the Noriega, guy Eric Del Valle.
Yeah.
Now there's more, obviously. Zelensky and Argentina's having, but yeah, like like you were saying, Panama's a melting pot, and it truly is. It's like the only place where Arabs and Jews get along and do business together and
correct.
stuff like that.
And that's went on for many years. In spite of the other side of the world.
I talk about the. I tried not to go down. I tried it to not be non-political. So I did talk a little bit about how the president was installed after the invasion. So
right.
I touched a little bit on that. I didn't want to go down the conspiracy.
Well, but that's not even really political. I mean, that kind of happens anytime that you.
Well, he was elected. He was properly elected, and then they rigged the election, so he was truly elected.
Yeah,
but for the winning side to put the president in, however they make their choice. In this case, the choice was, well, he was duly elected, so we're going to put him in. But had they put someone else in, it still would have been. It was just.
But as far
look
as
at Annette from Panama, Annette, are you in Panama now?
But
I guess she is. We're getting people from Panama calling. Right
Annette's in Panama. She's down there right now with some very good friends, bearing a very good friend of ours, Susan Thompson. So Annette, we love you very much for doing that.
Yes, hi Annette.
A lot of people here know Susan very well.
Yeah.
Can I please say hi to my friend Aminta? She's like my. We always joke she's my second wife.
Right
don't tell my first wife.
No, we won't. We'll keep it a secret.
Hi, Aminta.
Hola, Amita, your second wife. How are you? Nice to see you. Nice to meet you.
I'm going to get slapped here in a second.
Yeah. Heaven indeed, Denora. Heaven indeed. That's what the zone was, for sure.
I tried to paint a picture of what the Canal Zone was to what I experienced. I hope I painted a fair description of it. So please, when you read my book, please, let me know if you thought, how I painted the picture. Right.
Well, it'll be your picture, and it'll, Ricky and I grew up together in Panama, and I mean, literally 3 or 4 houses away, and yet both of us could paint a picture of Panama, and it would be completely different. A lot of similarities, a lot of differences. So
listen, guys, I'll tell you
the right one. It's your feeling, what you envision, what you felt.
The only person I've seen represent the Zonian very well is in the movie Taylor of Panama.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And what was the actress name? The real beautiful that did the Zonian girl.
Couldn't tell you.
Oh,
I don't know.
Famous from Trading Places. Come on.
Jamie
Lee Curtis.
Yes, Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah.
She portrayed the Zonian better than anybody has ever done it. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. Watch it again.
Watch it again now. Look at that
her role. She plays the Zonian perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
What was the other movie?
Yeah, no, that's
the Taylor of Panama. Was that Pierce Bronson?
No.
The name of the book, Laura, is One Heart, Two Countries.
Personal, one heart, two countries.
One heart, two countries.
Yes, personal, one heart, two countries.
All right, let's go ahead and throw that on a banner up there real quick here. Let me see. Bear with me.
So when you lived in Panama, you said you lived there another 10 years, right after you were stationed?
13, 14 years afterwards, yes.
Total.
So I worked as a civilian on Howard at the youth center right across from the movie theater.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I was a school age program coordinator there. and
good.
literally right across from the movie theater.
Yes, yes. We're very
And,
familiar with that. And then after that, you moved to Panama, or you stayed in the Canal area?
Well, I stayed in El Dorado. We lived there. My kids were growing up, and I had no intentions of leaving Panama whatsoever. And
What year did you leave?
2002.
2002.
Okay.
And that was because I had, I unemployed. It's easier to get a job in Panama from the U.S. than it is for American to get a job.
Oh yes.
So
that works a lot. And like Hawaii, I worked in Hawaii. It was the same thing. I got a job easy, but from California, working in Hawaii. But in Hawaii, it would have been a lot harder for me to get a job there.
Yes. So
same with Puerto Rico. I worked in Puerto Rico, same exact thing. So yes.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough. So when the bases closed up, I worked for my father-in-law. He sold medical supplies to everybody, to the hospitals, to the U.S. military, and that was a wonderful job. But it just wasn't enough. My wife worked for TVN,
Okay.
Channel 2.
Very cool.
Yeah, she had I brag about my wife. She was the first female horse racing analyst in Panama.
Wow.
So she had her own TV show, and she was
so did she help track down the horse?
No, she's laughing. No, she didn't. But I brag about my wife. So you probably watch.
Your better half. You always want to brag about your better half.
Yes,
come on now.
Yes. So I wouldn't be surprised if you guys watched her on TV.
Okay.
But
if she's always more than welcome to join us and jump on here and say hello if she wants to and whatnot. But right on.
There she is.
Hello. Good night. How are you doing?
Hola, buenas noches y hasta luego.
Buenas noches, disfrutando el programa. Enjoying this.
Gracias, mucho gusto.
Very good. Thank you.
Tienen invitación abierta cuando quieran para promover el libro.
Oh, yeah. Okay. After you read it, you can invite us again, and we can talk.
I am, because then I want to talk about it. I want to talk about.
Yes, please. I would really appreciate if you guys take some time and read it. I would love to hear your input. And
we'll definitely have you back soon, hopefully, or before the reunion, so you can once again mention the book.
Okay.
And then at the reunion, hopefully you'll have a lot
make sure you
sales.
guys get again. You can get it at the reunion. If not, you earlier we put it on there on Instagram or on Facebook. You can get it. Don Stock, look it up. Order that book, and let's have another show. Bring him on, and let's all talk about our opinions of it. And again, we'll critique it. We'll be nice. We'll be
No, I don't want.
He's an outsider, but he's a good guy, right? That's what Laura says. So we're going to deal with that.
Real opinion. I want real opinion. I don't want nice.
I gotta hear something, Willie, that one of our guests wants us to talk about. Good evening, greetings, great show. Thank you. Was Noriega working with the U.S. government?
So
did they help plan the Torrijos assassination? How accurate is that?
So in my studies, I did. Noriega was basically pushed up the food chain with the help of George Bush Sr.
Right, the CIA.
Noriega had gone to D.C. several times and visited with George Bush Sr. So he supported Noriega throughout his career, and I think Torrijos. I think Noriega had, just my personal opinion, he had a lot to do with that assassination. I don't think the U.S. government really liked Torrijos. I think he had a little bit of a socialist background. And that's not what the U.S., back then the U.S. was scared of that. So, that's just my personal opinion.
No, I think you're hitting it right. Yes. Torrijos did have the backing of the non-allied countries.
Yes.
And so that's was a good move on his part, as they say. And so I think that's what they were more scared of.
Yeah.
Well, he said he had that international backing.
Well, he sent, I don't know how many people know this, but he sent a lot of students out of Panama to be educated in different countries.
Oh yeah, we all know.
And they came back and they enriched Panama.
Correct.
Their knowledge, and so I mean, he did.
You're seeing the fruits of that now.
Yes.
Now you see the growth in Panama, just everything. Again, I said this in a previous show that, to me, when you look back, this was during when we were talking about the Panama reunion back in January. If you asked me in 1986, when I graduated Balboa High School, what's something that you don't think you'll ever see, or if somebody came back as a time traveler and said, hey, you know what, man, I've been in 2024, well, what's Panama like? They got a subway. Like, what? A subway in Panama? Because that's kind of a big deal, that's
yes. Yeah.
And stuff like that was unheard of back in the day, so I think, to your point, as these people now have returned to Panama, established themselves, elevated the intellectual capital in the country, you start seeing some of these bigger projects, these fancier. I mean, look, it seems like every 5 to 10 years there's a new bridge going across the canal, and here we had the swing bridge for many years, and then the Thatcher Ferry Bridge for many years, and that was
they have 3, and they're going to build another one. So
they just approved a new one now. That's what I'm saying. I mean, Panama has really stepped up their game. A lot of people will argue that the U.S. held Panama back. I'm not sure that it was a purposely held back. I think it's more so you're kind of on easy street. If they're giving you a big fat check every year, then the Panama, the country,
they weren't getting a big fat check. That's
well,
somebody was getting a big fat check to not change it.
$2 million. That's all they got a year. I mean, that's a lot of money back in the day, but it was
But think about all the Panamanians working in the zone that they're bringing money to their economy.
Yeah,
that's true. That is true there. Yeah,
that did create the middle class.
It certainly did, and the government had a lot less worry about employment because the Americans are employing a lot of people for them.
One of the things the Panamanian government hated the most about the zone was that they couldn't grow the city towards that way. They had to grow the city long wise. That's why it's all screwed up, because they couldn't grow out.
Yes.
They had to grow along the coast. So that was something that they really, really hated about the canal, was that their city planning.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And that's where the growth was stopped, that they couldn't grow naturally the way, cities would grow.
It's one of the beauties of Panama is it's an isthmus, it's narrow. You have mountains, and literally within 10 miles you have an ocean, but that's also the detriment. You really can't grow a city up into a mountain. So you're limited on your space, and you do have to grow lateral instead. And but
we didn't have. There's no mountain range that blocked that. It was the canal that blocked that growth.
Well, the canal, but I mean, you did have inland. I mean, you had the entire continental divide went through there. That's that was the biggest struggle building the canal, was that range right there. But anyway, that's for an architectural conversation, and we know Ricky will start that one up, and we'll be here till Saturday morning on that.
Yeah, I can't see a freaking construction job anywhere, because I got to go look at it, what equipment they have, what they're doing, what
he's
what
the
gravel they have there,
of the canal zone,
et cetera. Yeah.
Well, speaking of lack of change in the canal zone, I think it had a lot to do with the U.S. military, because being in the military, they don't like change.
Right.
The U.S. military did not like change, and that reflected on the canal zone. And I don't think they did it intentionally. I think they just did it because that's the military is like this.
Correct.
The U.S. military is like this, and they don't like change. They don't want change, and that was a way for the canal zone was a way for the U.S. military just to keep it simple.
Sure. And everybody, it worked for everybody. Everybody was happy with it.
Yes. Yes.
So it worked in everybody's favor, for sure. So, well, listen, Don, really, really enjoyed having you on.
Thank you.
And by the way, now that we had us 3 on here, I was able to test my graphic here for this Canal Zone Challenge show. So
thanks for everybody. Everybody participated.
Yeah, we had a lot.
Yes, thank you for everyone for showing. Yes, I loved everybody's comments.
I think you were a big draw, Don. Honest to God, I think you were a big draw.
Everyone can find my book on Amazon.com. And if it's under personal, One Heart, Two Countries. But if you have a hard time looking up the title, just go into the author search portion of it and put in my name, Don Stock.
Yeah, that's
It-
that's
If
easy to
you
remember.
put in my name, it'll come. The book will come right up. And,
Awesome.
and
No,
you
that's
can also
great.
you can also find me on Instagram and on Facebook with the same name, personal One Heart Two Countries. And if you really have a hard time, just instant message. Go on
or
Facebook.
look, or find me, look me up,
Yes,
guys.
yes.
I'll send you to it.
Yes,
I'm mostly
and-
on Instagram, and Willie's mostly on Facebook. So we're kind of covering all the bases.
Yeah,
Yes,
no,
thank
we'll
you- thank you
definitely
very
we'll
much.
put it out there. I'll start promoting it on the SCN Canal Zone page as well. So don't worry
Okay.
about it. We'll definitely promote it, Don.
Okay,
really,
thank you.
really enjoyed chatting with you. Enjoyed meeting you. And again, you guys have an open
that Al?
invitation. You want to come back and talk about the book again?
Can
maybe
I
some of
say
us will do a
thank
little
you?
book
Could
club.
Could I say thank you to Al? He just bought my book. Thank you, Al. And to
Absolutely.
Laura, I'm going to buy you a rum and coke at
Yes.
the reunion. Okay, I promise.
Very, very
All right,
nice.
I got the
Al,
second
thank you so
one.
much, Al. That's awesome, Al. Well done. Appreciate that.
Thank you,
You know,
Don.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So,
I appreciate
Don,
you
listen,
having me on your show.
anytime. You
And we'll
always have
see you
an
again.
invitation.
We'll definitely see you again.
Yeah, we will
Yes,
definitely
sir.
have
Bring
you
you
on,
on.
Don. So thanks again for showing up. Good luck with the book. We will read it, and we will definitely have a little book club and review it, and we'll give you some honest reviews on it for sure.
Thank you
So
very much. I appreciate that.
you got it,
Have a
Don.
good
Listen,
evening.
take care. Have a good one.
Bye.
All right, Don. We'll see you.
Bueno, Ricky, man, that
Hey,
was
man, that was good, Willie, man. I
that
really
was-
appreciate that.
that was and most importantly, really, really loved all the engagement tonight, guys. You
Yeah,
guys
thank
really
you guys, everybody
did-
out there.
Al
We really
Pasamante.
appreciate it.
Well done, Papa. Way to go. Appreciate that. It's nice when we can bring somebody on and then we can help them, promote their stuff on here. So anyway, all our vendors out there, if you're going to be at the society, at the reunion, and you're going to be vendors out there and stuff, keep that in mind. We're getting a lot of traction on this show. We're going to do this Canal Zone
Let us know.
challenge. I want to have some really cool prizes. I love some Al Sprague art stuff. I'd love some stuff from Ruthie MacArthur, the Balboa Trading Company. I think it's
I'll
is it
throw in a
Mud
picture
Underwood?
of some of my drawings, some sketches,
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
originals.
And we're going to
I can do
also,
that.
in that prize package, we're going to throw in a Governor's Club, 5-year membership to the society.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
it'll be a really, really cool thing. But we need some contestants. Okay. I need Atlantic Siders and I need Pacific Siders. Okay. Specifically for this first round, class of 64, 74, 84, and 94. All right. Atlantic side, Pacific side. We want to get you guys worked in here. We want to let me see if I can. Well, I'll do it for later, but I think we can have a lot of fun with this. It's all going to be Canal Zone trivia, maybe some little drawing skills there. Let's see if you can draw yourself something there, something Canal Zone related. But again, it's going to be a lot of fun. And again, from there, let's keep this Canal Zone memory, the Canal Zone story
Keep it
going.
Everybody,
If you
just
haven't already,
join the society.
Facebook.com/SCN Canal Zone. Go there, like the page, follow the page. That's where we're always broadcasting from. Hey, we'd love to hear some show ideas. If you got something you think would be a really cool show to have, let us know. Also, I want to start bringing on as guests people that worked in the Canal Zone. Okay.
Talk about
Our
the
generation,
experience,
we're the
you know.
ones listening to these stories and we're reliving all our childhood here. But I would love to hear, we have, of course, the Canal Zone Police. That's a great story. But, we talk about like the admin building, right? Big building there on top of the hill, right? And not that a lot of people, your parents worked at the admin building. What did they do there? I'd love to hear those stories.
That's a
People
great
that worked
story.
on the locks, I'd love to hear that story about the locks, what that was like, that operation. So
Maybe
if you're
we'll ask
on
all our
here and your
guests.
parents are available, get them on here. We'd love to have them and hear those stories. That's the essence of the Canal Zone. Gia, good to see you, Papa. Love to have you on here. But yeah, we definitely want to get a lot more of those stories going. Don, of course, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks,
we really
Don.
have you on there.
So, Willie, what we got coming up next week is the
Yes.
big one with Jerry Curtis. That's going to be
this
a
is
great
big.
one with talking about his just growing up. Being
That guy's
in
had a legendary
motorcycles.
career, man.
And he's a legend. He is definitely a legend. I think everybody's going to really, really enjoy listening to his story, and what he's doing now in Panama with his motorcycle. Jerry's still very involved in Panama's motorcycle world. He has a race that they call Ocean to Ocean, where for 3 days, all these riders participate in this big race that goes from the Atlantic side to the Pacific side in 3 days. Very similar to the Cayuga race.
Not on the road.
Not on the road.
We're not
Everything's
cruising the
off-road.
transition
Everything is
highway.
off-road.
This is all motocross.
But he'll be on next week, and he'll
Yeah.
let us know all about it. And I'm
Yeah.
really, really looking forward to talking with my best friend for my whole entire life. You know, Jerry and I, and Kelly Morris, and Adam Mitz, and Marco Priet. We've all been hanging out since we were 6 years old, bro.
Yeah, I know.
You know,
for
so
sure.
right when the mini bikes came out, Jerry's dad bought him 2. And after Jerry had 2, all the kids showed up at his house, right? All the kids that had motorcycles. So yeah.
Well, even Kelly Morris had a dirt
Was
bike.
one of the guys, man. She had her
Right
motorcycle.
on.
She was
I
there
love
with
that
us.
story. Every time I
Yeah.
hear that story, I'm like, heck yeah, man.
Kelly,
Right
man.
on.
Kelly's all
That's
right.
going to be a really, really fun story. There she is. Look at that. So another story that I'm excited about that we're working on, we're going to bring Andrew Eftimitis on, okay? Andrew
Andy,
Eftimitis is a Canal pilot, and he's going to join us about once a month. We're going to talk about the canal. We're going to talk about what's going on. He called. I mentioned this last week on the show that he called me. Unfortunately, I was at work. I couldn't take his call, but he was transiting a ship, and he was passing by the slide, which everybody remembers the iconic slide going down there, and so it was just a cool story. We started chit chatting about it, and we've decided that would be a really good segment to have. A lot of us, you know, in the news lately, there's been a lot of stories of the canal that, you know, the water level issues, and it's, you know, you hear these stupid headlines, is a canal obsolete and all that crap or whatever. But bottom line is, you know, it's still up and running, it's operating, it's doing its thing. Actually,
I
it's
think we're
starting to increase a
losing.
little bit more.
We lost her
But
for a little bit.
yeah, but it's going to be a cool segment. We're going to get it from the horse's mouth, somebody that's actually working on the canal right now and knows what's going on, knows everything about it. So I'm really looking forward to that one as well. Again, more Balboa Rams reunion information coming up. It was great having, you know,
We're gonna have
Larry
Kelly
and
Morris
Ray
on
and these
for
guys.
that.
And Kelly will be joining us for
We're
that
gonna
as
have
well. She's the
Raina
one that
on
got me
too.
started with that as well. So
Yeah, Raina's gonna
stay
come on
tuned for
too and
that.
talk about the Balboa Rams.
Yeah, so it's
Yes,
going to be a lot
yes.
of fun. And again, on the Balboa Ram side, guys, remember we're doing these shows on reviewing a particular team, a particular season. So you and your buddies that played for the Rams in 78 and 71, 73, we're working on those shows. There's a lot of other teams out there. I know there's several undefeated teams. If you're a part of one of those teams, get a couple of your teammates together. Bring them on board. We would love to talk about that season from start to finish. Bring some pictures, videos. If anybody has video on the Balboa Rams, any pictures,
Or any
please,
videos
please,
of the Canal
please.
Zone.
Well, no, but I'm talking specific for this reunion, this Rams reunion. We want to have a really cool slideshow presentation, and we want to have some of those memories. If anybody can get a hold of Chris Laxo, it's my understanding he has a buttload of Balboa Rams video. He used to shoot a lot of video up from the press box up there. So
Right
if
on,
anybody
yeah.
can get a hold of him, I'd love to get a hold of that
I
stuff.
think we follow each other on Instagram, so I'll hit him up. And then Willie,
do.
let's also little shout out to Thayer or Thane.
Yes.
The young man that's gonna do younger than me,
Right.
who's doing a Canal Zone documentary, guys.
Yes, Thane Wheeler.
It's going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, you guys have seen the pages out there on Facebook. He's got the Canal Zone documentary page. He's also got Panama Canal Zonians and Panama Canal Zonians Atlantic. Those are his as well. Great place to throw your comments, your memories, pictures. Him and I are going to start working together on quite a few of these projects so we can kind of piggyback off each other, help him get his you know, information out there and market it, and he's going to help us and promote us as well. So I think that's a really, really cool dynamic there. So yeah, thank you for reminding us
Great
about that
synergy. That's your big
for
word.
sure.
Yeah.
It is good synergy there. I think we're going to work together. We had a long chat with him last night.
An 80. Yeah. He didn't graduate, but he would have been an 89 graduate in Balboa.
He left right before.
Yeah,
so
those,
kind of
that
the same time I did
group,
because
I like those guys. That's a good group of Zonians.
It was funny talking to him last night. We figured out that it's very likely that his dad and my dad were working together because his dad was in the bunker up there in Corey Heights when they were getting ready for all this whole invasion thing, which is why, like he said, all of a sudden my dad said, "We got to go. Everybody pack up. We're leaving." Why? Well, because he knew the invasion was on the way, and Ron was involved in a lot of those things as well. So cool stories there, cool sharing. we went long again, but that's all right, man. You know,
We love it, Willie. We'll never do an hour, man. It's
and we
impossible
stayed with
for
people.
us.
People stayed with us, so that's the best part about it. I'm
Yeah,
glad
everybody
people
stayed
stayed
right
on.
on, man. Right on.
Keep spreading the word, everybody. Get
Yes,
this out
everybody.
there.
Yeah.
Keep the Canal Zone story going. It's a
Yeah.
beautiful
We're not
story.
going
It's an
anywhere. We're
awesome
doing this
story, man.
every Friday.
Yep, we're
So
gonna
we'll
be
see you
here,
guys.
rain, sleet, or snow. But again, keep it going. Balboa Rams, coaches, players, cheerleaders, water girls, you name it. If you were part of that Rams team, make plans to get to the reunion, reach out, get your reservations done, and sign up for the Rams reunion. We're going to have a lot of fun there. And again, thank you so much, guys. Thank you for helping us make this a lot of fun. Ricky and I are absolutely loving this. We really, really enjoy chatting with you guys. Love hearing all the information out there. People just jumping on and saying hello makes my day, man. So thank you so much for doing it. Thank you again for joining us. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. Ricky, any last words?
Any last words? No, Willie, just thank you for putting this all together. Hey, I'm honored. I'm blessed too that you have me on.
No, I have a lot of
Thank
fun
you
doing this
so
with you.
much,
You and
man.
I have go back a long way, and
Yes, we do.
you know, in spite of what people may think of you and I and our politics, you know, you're my
You're
hermano,
always
and
right. That's the
yeah,
you know what I mean. You know,
that's
so you're good.
exactly it.
As
It's
long as
no
we just
different than
always
telling you about
remember,
how
I'm
shitty
always right.
dude. It's no different than when I tell you about how shitty your 49ers are. You know,
I
it's
know. And
it
we
is.
are. We keep losing. Well,
So,
here we go for
but
our send off. We like to end it this way.
yes. Well, and before that, pa arriba, pa abajo, pa el centro, pa adentro.
Adentro.
I feel like I got to stand up and salute or hand on the heart or whatever, right?
You're all good.
Love it. I love it. Bam, bam.
Ba-dam.
Bueno, Ricky, have a
Okay,
great
Bobby.
weekend. I'll talk to you. Take care.
I'll
Canal
talk to you
Zone.
later.
Love you guys. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.